Hello, and welcome to the University of Suffolk Employer Apprenticeship Induction. I'm Johnny Burton. Thank you for taking the time to watch this recording. Whether you're a line manager, mentor, or employer representative, this session will provide you with an overview of apprenticeships and the important role you'll play in supporting apprentice success. Throughout this induction, we'll explain how apprenticeships work, what to expect during the apprenticeship journey, and the key responsibilities of employers, managers and mentors. We'll also highlight the support available from the Apprenticeship Team and share some practical tips to help you get the most from the apprenticeship experience. And by the end of the session, you should feel more confident in understanding apprenticeships and how you can support your apprentice to succeed. Let's get started. Behind every successful apprenticeship is a team of dedicated professionals working together to support apprentices, employers, and academic colleagues throughout the apprenticeship journey. And this slide introduces the University Apprenticeship Team and highlights the different roles that contribute to the successful delivery, quality assurance, and compliance of our apprenticeship programs. So at a strategic level, the team is led by the Director of Apprenticeships, Yvonne Malpass, and our Apprenticeship Administrator, Contracts Manager, Quality Manager ensure essential operational support, managing documentation, employer agreements, onboarding processes, and ensuring that apprentices can begin their programs smoothly. And the Apprenticeship Compliance Officer, which is myself, supports compliance within the apprenticeship funding rules and regulatory requirements, helping ensure that apprenticeships are delivered in line with government expectations and that both employers and apprentices receive accurate guidance throughout the programme. And we also have our practice educators or skills coaches working directly with apprentices and employers throughout the apprenticeship journey. They provide support, guidance and challenge through regular progress reviews, helping apprentices remain on track and achieve their goals. They also act as a key point for contact for employers and help identify any support needs or barriers to progress. And then finally, our ILR and funding manager oversees learner records and funding compliance, ensuring that apprenticeship data is accurate and that programs meet funding requirements. So what is an apprenticeship? There is sometimes a misconception that an apprenticeship is simply a qualification or a training course. In reality, an apprenticeship is a combination of several elements that work together to support the apprentice's professional and personal development. At its core, an apprenticeship combines employment with structured learning, allowing individuals to earn while they learn and apply new knowledge directly within their role. The apprenticeship is first and foremost a job. Apprentices are employed within an organisation and spend the majority of their time carrying out their role, gaining valuable workplace experience and contributing to the organisation. Through their day-to-day work, apprentices develop practical skills, build confidence and gain experience that supports their long-term career development. Alongside their employment, apprentices undertake structured learning through university. This may include lectures, workshops, tutorials, online learning, independent study and assessment. The academic element provides the theoretical knowledge that underpins professional practice and helps apprentices understand the wider context of their role and sector. A key component of every apprenticeship is off-the-job training. This is time spent developing new knowledge, skills and behaviours that are directly relevant to the apprenticeship standard. Off-the-job training can take many forms, including university attendance, workplace training, project work, shadowing, professional reading, mentoring activities and research. The purpose is to ensure that apprentices are continually learning and developing throughout their programme. Every apprenticeship includes regular progress reviews, often referred to as tripartite reviews, involving the apprentice, employer and university representative. These reviews take place every 10 weeks and provide an opportunity to discuss progress, celebrate achievements, identify challenges, and agree actions to support continued development. They're an important part of the apprenticeship journey and help ensure that the apprentice remains on track to successfully complete the programme. Apprenticeships are much more than technical skills. They also support broader personal and professional development, which is where the holistic and personal development skills discussions will come into play. We'll talk a little bit more about those later on. And the final component is the apprenticeship assessment. This is the culmination of the apprentice's learning journey and provides an opportunity to demonstrate occupational competence against the apprenticeship standard. Assessment methods vary depending on the programme, but may include professional discussions, projects, presentations, portfolios, observations, dissertations, or other occupationally relevant activities. So again, an apprenticeship is much more than a qualification. And when all these elements come together, apprentices develop the KSBs or knowledge, skills and behaviours needed to succeed in their chosen profession. Let's look at the apprenticeship journey. This slide provides an overview of the typical apprenticeship journey, highlighting the key stages that every apprentice will progress through from enrolment to completion. So the journey begins with an induction and onboarding, and this is where the apprentice is introduced to the apprenticeship programme, the university, their responsibilities, and the support available to them throughout their studies. During this stage, important documentation is completed, expectations are discussed, and the apprentice gains an understanding of how the apprenticeship will be delivered. It is also an opportunity for employers, mentors, and apprentices to understand their individual roles and responsibilities within the programme. A successful induction will help establish a strong foundation for the apprenticeship and ensure everyone starts with a clear understanding of what is expected. So the majority of the apprenticeship journey takes place during the on-programme phase, and this is where the apprentices develop their knowledge, skills and behaviours required by their apprenticeship standard for a combination of academic learning and workplace experience. And throughout this stage, the apprentice will attend teaching sessions, complete assignments, undertake off-the-job training activities, and apply their learning in the workplace. Employers and mentors play a crucial role by providing opportunities for apprentices to put their learning into practice and develop confidence within their role. And regular progress reviews help monitor development and ensure that the apprentices remain on track. The next stage is the gateway to completion. But before progressing to the final apprenticeship assessment, apprentices must successfully complete all required on-programme elements. And this includes achieving all required module credits, completing any mandatory qualifications, meeting off-the-job training requirements, and demonstrating readiness for final assessment. The employer, apprentice and university work together to confirm that all requirements have been met and that the apprentice is ready to progress to the final stage of the programme. Gateway acts as a quality checkpoint to ensure that apprentices have developed the necessary KSBs before undertaking their final assessment. And the final part itself is the apprenticeship assessment. This is the culmination of the apprentice's learning journey and provides an opportunity to demonstrate occupational competence against the apprenticeship standard. Assessment methods may vary depending on the programme, but may include professional discussions, projects, presentations, portfolios, observations, dissertation, or other occupationally relevant activities. So moving on to compliance within the apprenticeship journey. Compliance is not a single event or document. It runs throughout the entire apprenticeship journey, from enrolment through to successful completion and assessment. At each stage, there are key requirements that must be met to ensure the apprenticeship remains compliant with funding rules and regulatory expectations. Starting with onboarding. So the apprenticeship begins with a number of important compliance checks and documents. This includes confirming the apprentice's eligibility for funding, ensuring the apprentice and employer have the required agreements in place, and creating a training plan that sets out how the apprenticeship will be delivered. A skills analysis is also completed at the start of the programme to identify the apprentice's existing knowledge, skills and behaviours and determine what new learning is required. Getting these foundations right is essential, as many funding and audit requirements focus on evidence gathered at the point of enrolment. So throughout the apprenticeship journey while on programme, there are ongoing compliance requirements that must be maintained. Apprentices are expected to engage with their university learning, workplace training and off-the-job training activities. Regular progress reviews are undertaken to monitor progress, identify any support needs and ensure all parties remain engaged with the apprenticeship. Attendance and participation must be evidenced, and any significant absences or breaks in learning must be reported promptly. And employers also play a key role at this stage by supporting apprentices to attend training, complete off-the-job learning, and participate in the review meetings. So, gateway to completion. Before an apprentice can progress to their final apprenticeship assessment, they must successfully meet all gateway requirements. This includes completed the aforementioned off-the-job training hours, completing any mandatory modules and qualification, and providing evidence that all programme requirements have been met. A gateway declaration is then completed, confirming that the apprentice is ready to progress to the final assessment stage. So accurate records and evidence are particularly important at this point, as funding auditors may request evidence that all gateway requirements have been met. And then moving on to the apprenticeship assessment. And as we've mentioned already, this is the final stage of the apprenticeship journey. And this is where, as mentioned, the apprentice demonstrates that they've developed all the KSBs. So following the assessment, an exit review is usually completed to capture feedback and celebrate achievements. And successful completion results in the apprentice achieving their apprenticeship end, where applicable, their professional qualification. Further compliance in apprenticeships. So apprenticeships are not simply training programs. They are government-funded programs that must operate within a robust framework of funding rules, quality standards and regulatory requirements. And because public funding is invested into apprenticeships, providers, employers and apprentices all have a shared responsibility to ensure that programme requirements are met and appropriately evidenced. Compliance is therefore an important part of delivering a high-quality apprenticeship and protecting public funds. Several organisations have oversight of apprenticeships and each has a different role. So let's start with the Department for Education. DfE. They're responsible for apprenticeship policy, funding rules and the overall apprenticeship system in England. These funding rules set out what must happen throughout the apprenticeship, including eligibility requirements, training expectations, progress reviews and evidence requirements. The Department of Work and Pensions now has a responsibility for Skills England and plays an increasing role in shaping the skills agenda and ensuring that apprenticeship provision aligns with workforce and economic priorities. And Ofsted. Ofsted are responsible for inspecting apprenticeship providers and assessing the quality of education, training and learner experience. So during an Ofsted inspection, Ofsted will consider how effectively apprentices are developing new knowledge, skills and behaviours, how well employers are engaged, and whether apprentices are making progress towards becoming occupationally competent. And for higher and degree apprenticeships, such as the university offers, the Office for Students, or OFS, regulates higher education providers and ensures quality standards and student outcomes within the higher education sector. So compliance should not be viewed as a paperwork exercise. Many of the requirements within apprenticeship funding rules are designed to ensure that apprentices receive a high-quality learning experience and gain meaningful opportunities to develop within their roles. So examples of compliance is providing appropriate off-the-job training, attending those regular progress reviews, maintaining accurate records and evidence, ensuring apprentices are given sufficient time to complete their training and assessment activities, and retaining evidence to demonstrate learning and progress. And employers also play an important role in supporting compliance by attending reviews, providing workplace opportunities, confirming progress and helping apprentices engage with training. Employers help ensure that they're compliant with government requirements. Moving on to apprenticeship standards. So every apprenticeship is built around an apprenticeship standard, and these set out the KSBs that an apprentice must develop to become fully competent in their occupation. Each apprenticeship standard is unique and has been designed by employers and industry experts to reflect the requirements of a specific profession or job role. Whilst the exact content will vary between standards, all apprenticeships focus on developing three key areas: knowledge, which is the theoretical understanding, principles, and information required for the role; skills, the practical abilities needed to perform effectively in the workplace; and behaviours, the professional attitudes, values, and approaches expected within the occupation. The apprenticeship programs combines academic learning with practical workplace experience. Learning does not take place solely in the classroom or through online study, and in fact, a significant part of apprentices' development comes from applying new learning in real workplace situations. Employers are also encouraged to provide opportunities for apprentices to apply their learning in practice, and may also be asked to help in producing evidence for portfolios to support their learning. And some standards are also linked to professional or statutory regulation. For example, nursing, social work, and environmental health, where apprentices must meet additional professional requirements set by organisations such as the Nursing and Midwifery Council, Social Work England, or CIEH. The apprenticeship standard acts as the blueprint for the entire apprenticeship journey. It provides a clear framework for what the apprentice needs to know, what they need to be able to do, and the professional behaviours that they must demonstrate to achieve occupational competence and successfully complete their apprenticeship. When you get the slides, hyperlinks will be included, and you can find a link to all the apprenticeship standards here. So as we've mentioned KSBs quite a bit, let's just explore knowledge, skills and behaviours in a little bit more detail. So as we know, they are the foundation of apprenticeship standards. So looking specifically at knowledge, this refers to the information, theories, principles and understanding that apprentices need to perform effectively in their role. And this may include understanding relevant legislation, policies and professional standards, organisational procedures, health and safety requirements, safeguarding responsibilities, and equality, diversity and inclusion principles. So apprentices are also expected to understand how their organisation operates, the wider sector they work in, and the technologies and systems used in their role. This knowledge is typically developed through the formal teaching, workplace learning, professional reading, and discussions with their colleagues. For example, an apprentice might learn about organisational policies and procedures and understand how these contribute to safe, effective, and compliant practice. Moving on to skills. So, skills are obviously the practical abilities that apprentices develop in the workplace. And these are the activities they need to perform competently as part of their job role. Common skills found across many of the apprenticeship standards include communication, teamwork, problem solving, organisation, time management, digital literacy, and the ability to maintain accurate records. Apprentices are also expected to apply these skills in real workplace situations and continuously develop them through their programme. For example, an apprentice may need to communicate professionally and adapt their communication style depending on whether they're speaking with colleagues, customers, service users, or senior stakeholders. And behaviours relate to the attitudes, values, and professional characteristics expected within the occupation. They often reflect how an apprentice approaches their work and interacts with others. So, some examples include professionalism, accountability, integrity, respect, inclusivity, resilience, collaboration, and a commitment to continuous improvement. These behaviours are developed over time throughout the workplace experience, reflection, and feedback. For example, demonstrating professionalism may involve acting with integrity, maintaining confidentiality, and taking responsibility for actions and treating others with respect. KSBs are not separate from an apprentice's day-to-day job. They are embedded with anything they do. Throughout the apprenticeship, apprentices will gather evidence and receive feedback demonstrating the development against these requirements. So moving on to apprenticeship assessment. So as apprentices approach the end of their programme, they'll complete an apprenticeship assessment. And we've already mentioned that this is the final stage of the apprenticeship and is designed to confirm that the apprentice has developed the KSBs required by their occupational standard. The assessment is not simply a test of academic achievement. It focuses on whether the apprentices can demonstrate occupational competence and perform effectively in their role. The assessment methods vary depending on the apprenticeship standard and are designed to reflect real workplace practice. So the assessment period can last for several months, depending on the requirements of the apprenticeship standard. Once the apprentice has completed all on-programme learning requirements and is deemed ready, they will progress to the final assessment stage. There are currently two main approaches to the apprenticeship assessment. So integrated or non-integrated. So for some higher and degree apprenticeships, particularly in regulated professions such as nursing, social work and teaching, the apprenticeship assessment is integrated into the qualification. So this means that the professional qualification and apprenticeship assessment are combined into a single process, reducing duplication and ensuring apprentices are assessed against both professional and apprenticeship requirements simultaneously. So non-integrated apprenticeship assessment. So for non-integrated, the final assessment takes place separately from the training programme. Apprentices will usually complete a range of assessment methods after reaching gateway, such as professional discussions, interviews, presentations, projects, practical observations, case studies, or knowledge tests. And following assessment, apprentices will receive an overall grade based on the requirements of their apprenticeship standard. Depending on the standard, the grades may include a pass, merit, distinction, fail. The final grade reflects the apprentice's overall performance across all assessment methods and their ability to demonstrate the required knowledge, skills and behaviours. So for higher and degree apprenticeships, the apprentices will still walk away with their degree and they'll still get the same degree classification, whether or not that'll be a first, a 2-1, 2-2 or a 3. But they'll also receive that apprenticeship certificate that will grade them on the pass, merit, distinction or fail components of the standard. Moving on to off-the-job training. Off-the-job training is a fundamental and mandatory element of the apprenticeship. Apprentices are unable to complete their programme if their minimum off-the-job training hours have not been met. One of the most common questions employers, mentors and apprentices ask is, does this activity count as off-the-job training? So this flowchart provides a simple way to determine whether an activity can be included as off-the-job training and recorded against the apprenticeship. So the first question to ask is whether the activity is directly relevant to the apprenticeship standard. The training must support the apprentice in developing the KSBs required by the apprenticeship. If the activity has no connection to the apprenticeship standard, it cannot be counted. If the answer is yes, the next question is whether the activity is teaching something new. Off-the-job training must involve learning and development. Simply carrying out routine work, repeating existing tasks, or demonstrating competence in something that the apprentice already knows would not normally count. The activity should provide an opportunity to acquire new knowledge, develop skills, or improve their professional behaviours. And the third consideration is whether the learning takes place during the apprentice's normal paid working hours. Off-the-job training must be undertaken within their work paid time, and this does not mean that the apprentice has to be physically away from work. They can remain in the workplace. What matters is that time has been allocated specifically for learning and development rather than productive work duties. Overtime hours cannot be counted unless the apprentice is being compensated for this time, either as time off in lieu or being paid for this time. And in some instances, there might be some scenarios where you might have to check English and maths qualifications. Now, our apprentices would have already met this requirement at the onboarding process. But where English or maths learning is being undertaken, only provision above level 2 can count towards off-the-job training requirements. And functional skills or equivalent qualifications below this do not contribute to off-the-job training hours. So fundamentally, if the answer is yes to all of those questions, then the activity can be recorded as off-the-job training. It's important to remember that off-the-job training is not limited to attending lectures or formal discussions. in the classrooms. It can include a wide range of activities such as workshops, webinars, shadowing experienced colleagues, mentoring discussions focused on learning, research, project work, reflective practice, professional reading, attending conferences. And remember, a useful rule of thumb is to ask, is the apprentice learning something new that relates to their standard? If the answer is yes, it's likely to qualify as off-the-job training. Getting this right is important because off-the-job training is a key requirement of apprenticeship funding rules and a significant factor in helping apprentices successfully achieve the KSBs required for their role and their future career progressions. So on screen now, we have an example of a real apprentice's off-the-job training submission. So as you can see in the first column, they've provided us with a very brief overview of what the activity is. So for example, in the first row, we have a self-directed study day. In column 2, in black, the apprentices provided the activity that they undertook. And in red, they've provided us with the impact that this activity has had on their development. May want to take some time just looking at this example, and then we'll progress on to the next slide. Let's take a look at the role of the line manager and mentor in a bit more detail. So line managers play a crucial role in ensuring that apprentices can successfully complete their apprenticeship and develop into confident, competent professionals within the organisation. Apprentices will come from a wide range of backgrounds and experiences. Some may already have significant workplace experience and are using the apprenticeship to develop specialist skills or progress their career. Others may be returning to learning after a long break or entering employment and training for the very first time. Because of this, each apprentice will have different support needs, learning styles, and levels of confidence. And whilst line managers retain the same responsibilities they have for all members of staff, they also have an additional role in supporting the apprentice's development throughout their programme. And I mentioned already, this includes helping them develop the KSBs required by the standard, providing them with opportunities to apply their learning in practice, and also ensuring that they have sufficient time and support to engage with those training activities. So alongside the line manager, a mentor can make a significant contribution to an apprentice's success. A mentor is typically an experienced colleague who works with the same organisation and understands the occupation and the workplace environment. They provide an additional layer of support, guidance and encouragement throughout the apprenticeship journey. A mentor should be someone the apprentice feels comfortable approaching for advice and support. Often, they are a more experienced or senior colleague who can share their own experiences, provide practical insight, and act as a trusting sounding board. This relationship allows apprentices to have open and honest conversations about challenges, success, and professional development in a supportive environment. Regular informal discussions between the apprentice and mentor can help identify issues before they become barriers to progress. Mentors can assist apprentices in balancing workplace responsibilities with study commitments, developing effective time management skills, and finding solutions to challenges they may encounter. Mentors are also well placed to help apprentices identify suitable workplace activities and projects that align with their apprenticeship requirements. By helping apprentices gain exposure to relevant experiences, mentors can support the development of the knowledge of the KSBs. An important aspect of mentoring is encouraging reflection. Apprentices learn not only through training sessions and coursework, but throughout their learning and how they can continue to improve their performance and professional practice. Ultimately, effective line managers and mentors create an environment where apprentices feel supported, challenged and valued. Their guidance can have significant impact on apprenticeship engagement, achievement, confidence and long-term career progression within the organisation. Moving on to Aptem. So throughout the apprenticeship, one of the main systems you and your apprentice will use is Aptem. Aptem is the university's apprenticeship management platform and is used by apprentices, employers, lecturers and practice educators to monitor progress and manage key aspects of the apprenticeship journey. As an employer or mentor, Aptem provides a useful overview of how your apprentice is progressing throughout their program. It allows you to see completed upcoming activities, review progress against learning objectives, and participate in their progress reviews. Aptem is also where important compliance documentation is stored, providing a central location for key apprenticeship records and evidence. One of the most important functions of Aptem is the recording of off-the-job training. Apprentices will use the system to log their training activities and upload supporting evidence which can be reviewed and verified by their lecturer. The platform is also used to manage regular progress reviews. You'll receive notifications when a review is due and asked to contribute your feedback on the apprentice's progress, achievements, and any support that they may need. So moving on to progress reviews, as we've discussed them quite a bit. These meetings are mandatory and arranged to discuss the progress to date of the apprentice against their training plan and any other individual requirements. The review meetings will be held on Microsoft Teams. The person representing the apprentice during the reviews and progress discussions, usually their line manager or workplace mentor, plays a crucial role in the success. It's important they work closely with the apprentice on a regular basis and have a good understanding of their day-to-day responsibilities, strengths, achievements, and areas of development. And this enables them to provide meaningful and constructive feedback on the apprentice's progress, helping to identify where additional support, coaching, or development opportunities may be beneficial. They should also be able to contribute to discussions around future learning, workplace opportunities, and any adjustments or individual support needs that may help the apprentice succeed. Having an informed and engaged workplace representative ensures that reviews are productive, supports the apprentice's development, and helps maintain a strong link between the working learning and the apprenticeship programme. Tripartite reviews will be held every 10 weeks for the apprenticeship programme, and your practice educator will book these in at the beginning of the course. So what is involved in a progress review? So as well as discussing progress and setting actions, progress reviews include several important activities that help monitor the apprentice's development throughout their programme. So the first element is the skills radar. This is a self-assessment tool that allows apprentices to rate their confidence and ability across a range of employer and professional skills. The skills radar helps identify strengths, areas for development, and changes in confidence over time. It also provides a useful starting point for discussions between the apprentice, employer, and practice educator about progress and future development opportunities. Off-the-job training. So at this point, we'll also review the apprentice's off-the-job training and the learning activities they've completed since the last review. Are they on track with the number of off-the-job hours they need to have uploaded at this particular point in their programme? The review is also an opportunity to discuss the impact of learning in the workplace and identify any further development opportunities that could support that progression. And we have core topics. So every review includes a discussion around a range of core and holistic topics. These may include areas such as safeguarding, prevent, equality, diversity and inclusion, British values, citizenship, well-being, sustainability, and professional conduct. These conversations help ensure that apprentices develop not only occupational competence, but also broaden an understanding of their responsibilities as professionals and members of society. And then finally, the progress comments. So the review also provides an opportunity to reflect on progress since the previous meetings. We'll discuss any actions that were agreed at the last review, achievements since then, academic progress, workplace development, and any challenges that may have arisen. This section encourages apprentices to reflect on their learning, identify areas for improvement, and consider what support they may need before the next review. So moving on, we'll also be looking at apprenticeship assessment. And during the review, we'll discuss the progress towards the apprenticeship assessment and ensure everyone understands the requirements of the apprenticeship standard. This helps avoid surprises later in the programme and ensures that the apprentice remains on track for successful completion. We'll also be looking at individual support needs. So reviews provide a safe space to discuss any concerns or changes that may affect the apprentice's learning. This could include any changes in their job role, personal circumstances, well-being concerns, additional learning needs, or anything else that may impact progress. Attendance is also a mandatory requirement of the apprenticeship. We will review attendance at the university sessions and discuss any absences that may have occurred since the last review. It is important that any significant absence, including breaks in learning, maternity leave, long-term sickness, or any other extended periods away from work or study, are reported so appropriate support can be provided once they return. And careers is also an essential part of the progress reviews. So apprenticeships are about developing future careers as well as their current job performance. And reviews provide an opportunity to discuss career aspirations, progression opportunities, and any additional information, advice and guidance that may help the apprentice achieve their longer-term goals. And employer and mentor feedback is also an important part of the review process. This allows you, as line managers and mentors, to share your observations of the apprentice's performance, development, and contribution within the workplace. It's also an opportunity for you to discuss any new projects, responsibilities, or development opportunities that could help the apprentice continue building their knowledge, skills, and behaviours. And at the end of each review, clear actions and targets will be agreed. These should be realistic, measurable, and focused on achieving the knowledge, skills, and behaviours set out in the standard. On screen now we have contact details for various members of the apprenticeship team. For general inquiries, please email apprenticeships@uos.ac.uk. If you need any support with Aptem, email aptemsupport@uos.ac.uk. Progress reviews will be carried out by our practice educators, so Fiona Page, Leo Atkinson and Anna Arbour. You will be notified at the beginning of the apprenticeship who the practice educator will be for your apprentice. For contracts and health or safety, please contact Apprenticeships Contracts Manager Ellen Rush at e.rush3@uos.ac.uk. And for compliance, you can contact me, Johnny Burton, at j.burton3@uos.ac.uk. So as we come to the end of this induction, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to learn more about apprenticeships and the role you play in supporting your apprentice. We've covered the key stages of the apprenticeship journey, explored the responsibilities of employers, line managers and mentors, discussed progress reviews and off-the-job training, and highlighted some of the compliance requirements that help ensure apprentices receive a high-quality learning experience. If there's one key message to take away from today, is that apprenticeships are a partnership. The most successful apprenticeship happens when apprentices, employers and the university work together to support learning, development and achievement. Your encouragement, feedback and support can make a significant difference to an apprentice's confidence, engagement and success. Remember, you're not expected to know everything. The apprenticeship team is here to support you throughout the programme, answer questions and help resolve any issues that may arise. Thank you again for your time, and most importantly, thank you for investing in apprenticeships and supporting the development of your workforce. We look forward to working with you and your apprentices. Thank you for listening. And before you go, we'd really appreciate a few moments of your time to complete our short feedback survey. Your feedback helps us understand what worked well, what could be improved, and how we can continue to develop our employer induction materials to better support employers, line managers and mentors. Simply scan the QR code on the screen to access the survey. Thank you once again for your time.